Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session, looking at Sir Giles Goosecap Night, a comedy presented by the children of the Chapel. Yes, we are at the Chapel Royal at the Blackfriars, and in fact, we can give you a day. I can tell you it's a Saturday today. For this performance, it's performed. This might not be the first performance, but it was performed on Saturday, the 18th of September. So we've all gathered for this play, probably by George Chapman. And not only do you get to watch this play, we've just sat through an hour's worth of instrumental and vocal music. So we've had a little concert. We've enjoyed that, and now we're going to catch up with this play. This is first of three sessions. It's quite a full old company, because that's what children's companies are like. Lots of random parts dancing about. And so reading today, Sir Giles and Penelope is...
Hello, Lois Potter, based in London.
Reading Foul Weather is...
Francis Cox, actor, voice artist, living in Amsterdam.
Sorry, I think I mispronounced your name. I think it should have been Weather, but never mind. It's been a while. Reading Bullake and Tales is...
Steve Longstaffe, based in the northwest of England.
Reading Winifred today is...
Sarah Blake in cold and rainy Germany.
Reading Will and Messenger is...
It's Greg from the dark side.
Reading Eugenia and Clarence is...
I'm Lynn, and I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Rudesby is...
Hi, I'm Eric. How may I help you with your tech problem today?
Reading Jack and Kingcob is...
Alan, still wasting supper.
Reading Momford today is...
Aliki, Chapple, actor and translator, currently in Lancaster in England.
And finally, just joining, coming into the room, hopefully there and online and ready, though you don't have to read for a little bit. Reading Hippolyta is...
I guess that's me. Hello, Briony in Lincolnshire. Sorry to be slightly late, guys.
That's all right. And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading just the stage directions and generally keeping everything moving along. We've got quite a lot of text to get through today because of the unevenness of the act structure. So we're going to crack on straight away. We have no prologue, but we do have the entrance of Bullake with a torch for Act 1, Scene 1.
This is the Countess Eugenia's house, I think. I can never hit off these same English city houses, though I was born here. If I were in any city in France, I could find any house there at midnight.
Enter Jack and Will.
2 strange, hungry nights, Will, made the leanest trenches that ever I waited on.
The plague on them, Jack. They leave us no fees at all for our attendance. I think they used to set their bones in silver, they pick them so clean. See, Jack, what's that?
Oh, my word, Will. 'Tis the great baboon that was to be seen in Southwark.
Is this he? God's my life, what beasts were we that we should not see him all this while? Never trust me if he look not somewhat like a man. See how prettily he holds the torch in one of his forefeet. Where is his keeper trowel? Is he grown loose?
Hast ever an apple about thee, Will? We'll take him up sure. We shall get a monstrous deal of money with him.
That we shall in faith, boy. And look thou here, here's a red-cheeked apple to take him up with.
Excellent, fit him a credit. Let's lay down our provenance to him.
Let them alone a while.
Give me the apple to take up, Jack, because my name is Jack.
Hold thee, Jack, take it.
Come, Jack. Come, Jack. Come, Jack.
I will come to you, sir. I'll jack ye, my word. I'll jack ye.
God's me, he speaks, Jack. Oh, pray pardon us, sir.
Out, ye moped monkeys. Can you not know a man from a marmoset in these Frenchified days of ours? Nay, I'll jackify you, little better yet.
Nay, good sir, pardon us.
Pardon us? Out ye homebred peasants, plain English, pardon. If you had parled, not spoken, but said pardon-moi, I would have pardoned you. But since you speak and not parley, I will cudgel ye better yet.
Oh, pardonnez-moi, monsieur.
Bien, je vous remercie. There's pardon per view, sir, now.
Why, thank you for it, sir. You seem to be a squire of our order, sir.
Whose page might you be, sir?
I am now the great French traveller's page.
Or rather, the French traveller's great page, sir. On.
Height Captain Foulweather, alias Commendations, whose valour's within here at supper with the Countess Eugenia, whose proper eaters I take you two to be.
You mistake us not, sir.
Yes, Captain Foulweather, alias Commendations, Will. Gallant that one needs be a suitor to our Countess.
Faith, and if Foulweather be a welcome suitor to a fair lady, has good luck.
Oh, sir, beware of one that can shower into the laps of ladies. Captain Foulweather? Why, he's a captainado, or captain of captains, and will lie in their joints that give him cause to work upon them so heavily that he will make their hearts ache. I warrant him, Captain Foulweather, why, he will make the cold stones sweat for fear of him a day or two before he come at 'em. Captain Foulweather, why, he does so domineer and reign over women.
Plague of Captain Foulweather. I remember him now. Jack, I know him to be a dull, moist-brained ass.
A southern man, I think.
That's fearful. And will lie like a lapwing, and I know he came to be a captain and to have his surname. And I know how he came to be a captain and have his surname of Commendations.
Oh, I prithee will.
Why, sir, he served the great lady Kingcob, and was yeoman of her wardrobe, and because he could brush up her silks lustily, she thought he would carry the enemy coats as soundly, and so by her commendations, he was made captain to the Low Countries.
Then, being made captain only by his lady's commendations, without any worth also of his own, he was ever after surnamed Captain Commendations.
Right.
Aye, sir, right. And if he had not said right, my captain should have taken no wrong at his hands, nor yours neither, I can tell ye.
What are those two knights' names that are thy captain's comrades and within at supper with our lady?
One of their names is Sir Giles Goosecap, the other's Sir Cuthbert Rudesby.
Sir Giles Goosecap? What's he? A gentleman?
Aye, that he is. At least if he be not a nobleman. His chief house is in Essex.
In Essex? Did not his ancestors come out of London?
Yes, that they did, sir. The best goosecaps in England comes out of London, I assure you.
Aye, but sir, these must come into it before they come out, I hope. What countryman is Sir Cuthbert Rudesby?
Oh, a northern man, a western man, I take him. My captain is the emphatical man. And by that pretty word, emphatical, you shall partly know him. For 'tis a very forcible word in troth, and yet he forces it too much by his favour, marry, no more than he does all the rest of his words, with whose multiplicity oftentimes he travails himself out of all good company.
Like enough. He travelled for nothing else.
But what qualities haunt Sir Giles Goosecap now, sir?
Sir Giles Goosecap has always a death's head, as it were, in his mouth. There is only one reason for everything is because we are all mortal, and therefore he is generally called the Mortal Knight. Then he hath another pretty phase too, and that is he will tickle the vanity on it, still in everything, and that is your summa totalis of both their virtues.
'Tis enough, as long as they have land enough. But now, must your third person afore us, I beseech you.
Third person, second knight, blunt Sir Cuthbert Rudesby, is indeed blunt at a sharp wit, and sharp at a blunt wit. A good bustling gallant, talks well, and rovers, is 2 parts soldier, as stubborn as a Switzer, and somewhat like one in face too, for he wears a bush beard, will dead a cannon shot better than a woolpack. He'll come into the presence like your Frenchman in foul boots, dares eat garlic as a preparative to his courtship. We shall know more of him hereafter. But good wags, let me win you now for the geographical parts of your ladies in requital.
That you shall, sir. And the hydrographical, too, and you will. First, my lady, the widow, and Countess Eugenia, is in earnest a most great, worthy lady, and indeed can do more than 1,000 other ladies do, I can tell you.
Now, what is that, I pray thee?
Marry, sir, he means she can do more than sleep and eat and drink and play at noddy and help to make herself ready.
Can she so?
She is the best scholar of any woman, but one in England. She is wise and virtuous.
Nay, she has one strange quality for a woman besides, though these be strange enough that he's reckoned.
For God's sake, what is that?
She can love reasonable constantly, as she loved her husband only, almost a whole year together.
Well, that's strange indeed. What is your fair lady, sir?
My lady, sir, the Lady Hippolyta.
It is as chaste as ever was Hippolytus.
Through my pretty parenthesis, is half a maid, half a wife, and half a widow.
Strange tale to tell. How can thou make this good, my good Assumpsit?
Thus, sir, she was betrothed to a gallant young gentleman that loved her with such passion and admiration that he never thought he could be so blessed as to enjoy her in full marriage, till the minister was marrying them. And even then, when he was saying, I, Charles, take thee, Hippolyta, with extreme joy, he began to look pale, then going forward, saying, to my wedded wife, he looked paler, and then pronouncing, for richer, for poorer, as long as we both shall live, he looked extreme pale. Now, sir, when she comes to speak her part and said, I, Hippolyta, take thee, Charles, he began to faint for joy. Then saying, to my wedded husband, he began to sink. But then going forth to, for better, for worse, he could stand no longer, but with the very conceit, it seemed, that she, whom he tendered as the best of all things, should pronounce the worst. And for his sake, too, he sunk downright and died suddenly. And thus being half married, and a half husband wholly dead, I hope I may with discretion affirm her half a maid, half a wife, and half a widow. Do you conceive me, sir?
Oh, sir, I devour you quick. Now, sir, I beseech you, open unto me your t'other lady. What is she?
I'll answer for her, because I know her ladyship to be a perfect maid indeed.
How canst thou know that?
Passing perfectly, I warrant ye.
I'm measuring her neck twice, and trying if it will come about her forehead and slip over her nose.
No, sir, no. By a rule that will not slip so, I warrant you, which for her honour's sake I will let slip onto you. God so. Jack, I think they have supped.
Ah, lady, we waited well the while.
Well, though they have lost their attendants, let us not lose our suppers, Jack.
I do not mean it. Come, sir, you shall go in and drink with us, if faith.
Pardon moi, monsieur.
No pardoning in truth, sir.
Je remercie de bon cœur.
And they exit. And so, yeah, this is an interesting opening scene. It's doing an awful lot of work. It's reminding me of some of the slightly earlier humours plays, in the sense that you have a scene in the beginning where people explain the humours of the characters. This has more psychological depth, I feel. They're not caricatures that they're describing, but they are people who have got a certain level of over-the-top silliness about them. And do, sir, please explain to me who are the people who are on your side of the plot. Ah, that was a lovely description. Let me tell you about people from my side of the plot. So it's very schematic in that sense. It's interesting. It's a boys' company play, and we're sort of going back to that tradition of let's have some random servants come on. They haven't really complained about being hungry or anything, but it's sort of following all that sort of stuff. And then Jack's story there. I mean, all sorts of interesting things going on here. Lots to discuss. Thoughts in the room. Alan first.
Well, they actually, the opening line was pretty well. These knights are not going to leave anything for us to eat, so that's our perks gone for Burton. And then there was also that nice one where Bullake is actually likened to the great baboon, which presumably is a reference to sort of freak show or bear baiting type spectacles that would have been going on.
Yes, I asked in the chat, does anyone have a gloss on the Great Baboon of Southwark? Was it because obviously I do know that there are animals available around the country, but I'm not aware of a Great Baboon. I'd like to know more. Lois.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, there are quite a lot of references to baboons in this period. I think there's an article on this somewhere, and about some woman who was trying to imitate one and got in such a knot that they had to kind of take her apart. But I think there was an ape in Paris Garden. I can't remember now what his name was. He had one, and he's referred to, I think, in one of Marston's satires. I don't know if that's what they're talking about, but it could be. You know, something I wondered about was that bit right at the beginning where Bullake says that it's hard to find houses in London, but not in Paris. And I don't know whether he just means that he knows Paris a lot better than London, but I wondered if it was something to do with numbers or signs, or, you know, the way that houses were indicated.
Yes, because a lot of this opening does feel very sort of topical. It feels like, you know, the audience would know about the Great Baboon, and they'd know these various elements and the geography that they're talking about. And yes, the idea of mistaking a Frenchman for a monkey is something that will come to haunt a certain town in a couple hundred years' time. Lynn.
My guess about the house thing is that everything in London looks alike, and that in Paris the architecture is more interesting.
Yeah, nice thought. Eric.
I was going to say that this reminded me of the inductions we've had in various plays where you've got like 2 or 3 characters, not so much arguing over who's going to give the prologue in this case, like sort of, you know, like in Jack Drum's Entertainment, you've got like that sort of dynamic. Whereas you've got 3 characters sort of discussing people who are going to come on and like, oh yeah, he's totally like douchebag and that kind of thing. It's very sort of it reminded me a bit of some of the Johnson plays that we've done already, where you've got sort of, well, basically the humorous plays that you mentioned. And
yeah, I have to say, if we were staging this today, I would have, you know, upstage behind Gore's tableau of the people they're talking about, or something like that, because there's an awful lot of talk about people who aren't here, and it is engaging talk, and it is very witty, but it's quite a lot to throw at an audience straight off the bat. Though it is, say, very nicely written. And I say Jack's little aside about Charles and Hippolyta. I mean, wow, that's cold feet and a half, isn't it? Yeah, other thoughts in the room? Eric again.
I'm just wondering about the French elements in this, where, you know, it's like, pardon moi, monsieur, and then you've got, no, pardoning in truth, sir, and je vous remercie de bon cœur. And I'm just wondering if that's meant to be like sort of, because obviously people might have spoken French at the time in England, As in people understanding it, I mean. But then you've probably, I'm guessing it's meant to be more like sort of a language joke as well, sort of people misunderstanding like "cur" and "cur" and that kind of thing. Throwing insults at people when they're not actually insults.
Well, it's partly to, I think it may be also down to the identifier of characters who are supposed to be French or identify as French, and there might be visual signifiers with that as well to set up that kind of joke. I don't know whether French fashions are as overtly obviously different to English fashions on the street, so that that might be a thing. But yes, there's a lot of wordplay going on here, and language play.
Well, we did
thoughts?
have it also
Eric.
in The Cases Altered, where we had like a French character sort of teaching the whole hat scene, where it's like how to handle a hat. I don't know why I remember this.
It's lovely to have a memory. Lois.
Oh, and just note the compliment to Elizabeth, which I assume is what we got in that bit about this lady being the most learned one in England, apart from one.
Yes, and is this question, how serious is Will about Countess Eugenia? Is Countess Eugenia as described, or is there a sarcasm going on here? Or what? Because of course we've had quite takedown descriptions of people. We know that Sir Giles has some catchphrases that I'm sure will be hilarious coming up, and other little character things have come in. So yeah. How ironical are people being? Any other thoughts before we go on to next scene? I feel I'm grounded onto some of the people that we're presumably literally about to meet. So, in fact, maybe some of you have had instructions about how to perform your part, and you're now going, oh, bugger. Who knows? We shall see. There's at least one person who is playing two parts in the following little exchange, but apart from that, everyone is different. Act 1, Scene 2, enter Goose-cap, Rudesby, Foulweather, Eugenia, Hippolyta, Penelope, and Winifred.
A plague on you, sweet ladies. 'Tis not so late. What needed you to have made so short a supper?
In truth, Sir Cuffed, we might have tickled the vanity on't an hour longer, if my watch be trustable.
Aye, but how should these beauties know that, Sir Giles? Your watch is mortal and may err.
Oh, that's sooth, Captain. But do you hear, honest friend? Pray take a light and see if the moon shine. I have a sundial, will resolve presently.
Howsoever, believe it, ladies, 'tis unwholesome, uncourtly, unpleasant to eat hastily and rise suddenly. A man can shew no discourse, no wit, no stirring, no variety, no pretty conceit to make the meat go down emphatically.
Winifred,
Madam,
I prithee go to my uncle, the Lord Momford, and entreat him to come quicken our ears with some of his pleasant spirit. This same foul weather has made me so melancholy. Prithee, make haste.
I will, madam.
Oh, and exit Winifred.
We will bid our guests good night, madam. This same foul weather makes me so sleepy.
Fie upon it. For God's sake, shut the casements. Here's such a fulsome air comes into this chamber. In good faith, madam, you must keep your house in better reparations. This same foul weather beats in so filthily.
I'll take order with the porter for it, lady. Good night, gentlemen.
Why, good night, and be hanged, and you'll needs be gone.
God give you good night, madams. Thank you for my good cheer. We'll tickle the vanity on't no longer with you at this time, but I'll indict your ladyship to supper at my lodging one of these mornings, and that ere long, too, because we are all mortal, you know.
Light the Lady Penelope and the Lady Hippolyta to their chambers. A good night, fair ladies.
Good night, madam. I wish you may sleep well after your light supper.
I warrant you, lady, I shall never be troubled with dreaming of my French suitor.
Exeunt the ladies.
Why, how now, my Frenchified Captain Foulweather? By God's blood, thy surname is never thought upon here. I perceive here's nobody gives thee any commendations.
Why, this is the untravelled rudeness of our gross English ladies now. Would any French lady use a man thus, think ye? Be they any way so uncivil and fulsome? They say they wear foul smocks and coarse smocks, say they lie, and I will die in it.
I do so pray thee, thou shalt die in a very honourable cause, thy country's general quarrel, right?
Their smocks, quoth you? Oh, my word, you shall take them up so white and so pure, so sweet, so emphatical, so moving.
Ay, marry, sir, I think they be continually moving.
But if their smocks were coarse or foul?
Nay, I warrant thee, thou carest not, so thou wert at them.
'Sdeath, they put not all their virtues in their smocks, or in their mocks, or in their stewed cocks, as our ladies do.
But in their stewed pox, there's all their gentility.
Nay, good Sir Cut, do not aggravate him no more.
Then they are so kind, so wise, so familiar, so noble, so sweet in entertainment, that when you shall have cause to discourse, or sometimes to come near them, if your breath be ill, your teeth ill, or anything about you ill, why, they will presently break with ye in kind sort, good terms, pretty experiments, and tell you plain this. Thus it is with your breath, sir. Thus it is with your teeth, sir. This is your disease, and this is your medicine.
As I am true mortal knight, it is most superlatively good, this.
Why this is courtly now, this is sweet, this is plain, this is familiar. But by the court of France, our peevish dames are so proud, so precise, so coy, so disdainful, and so subtle as the Pomonium serpent, mordieu. The punk of Babylon were never so subtle.
Nay, do not chafe so, Captain.
Your Frenchman would ever chafe, Sir Cut, being thus moved.
What, and play with his beard so?
Ay, and bristle, it doth express that passion of anger very full and emphatical.
Nay, good night, if your French would bristle, let him alone in troth. Our ladies are a little too coy and subtle, Captain, indeed.
Subtle, Sir Giles Goosecap. I assure your soul they are as subtle with their suitors or loves as the Latin dialects, where the nominative case and the verb, the substantive and the adjective, the verb and the adverb stand as far asunder as if they were perfect strangers one to another, and you shall hardly find them out, but then learn to construe and pass them, and you shall find them prepared and acquainted, and agree together in case, gender, and number.
I detest Sir Cut. I did not think he had been half the quintessence of a scholar he is.
Slid, there's not one of them truly emphatical.
Oh yes, I'll assure you, Captain, there are many of them truly emphatical. But all your French ladies are not fat, are they, sir?
Fat, sir? Why do you think emphatical is fat, Sir Giles?
God's my life, brother knight, didst thou think so? Hard, I know not what it is myself, but yet I never thought it was fat, I'll be sworn to thee.
Why, if any true courtly dame had had but this new-fashioned suit to entertain anything indifferently stuffed, why, you should have had her more respective by far.
Nay, there's some reason for that, Captain. Methinks a true woman should perpetually dote upon a new fashion.
What? Why, you're in the right, Sir Cuthbert. Innova fet animus mutatis dicta formas. 'Tis the mind of man and woman to affect new fashions. But to our mincitives, forsooth, if he come like to your Bisogno or your Boar, so he be rich or emphatical, they care not. Would I might never excel a Dutch skipper in courtship, if I did not but distaste into my carriage of purpose. I knew I should not please them, laquais allume la torch.
Slid, here's neither torch nor lackey, methinks.
Oh, mon Dieu.
Oh, do not swear, Captain.
Your Frenchman ever swears, Sir Cut, upon the lack of his lackey, I assure you.
See, here he comes, and my lady's 2 pages. They have been tickling the vanity on to faith.
And we go into Act 1, Scene 3, a continuation. Enter to them Jack, Bullake, and Will from earlier.
Captain Foulweather, my lady, the Countess Eugenia, commends her most kindly to you, and is determined tomorrow morning early, if it be a frost, to take her coach to Barnet to be nipped, where, if it please you to meet her, and accompany her homeward, joining your wit with the frost, and help to nip her, she does not doubt but though you had a sad supper, you will have a joyful breakfast.
I shall indeed, my dear youth.
Why, Captain, I abused thee. I see that I said the ladies respected thee not, and now I perceive the widow is in love with thee.
S'blood knight, I knew I had struck her to the quick. I wondered she departed in that extravagant fashion. I am sure I passed one passado of courtship upon her that has heretofore made a lane amongst the French ladies like a culver in shot, I'll be sworn. And I think, Sir Giles, you saw how she fell under it.
Oh, as clear as candlelight by this daylight.
Oh, good knight of the post, he'll swear anything.
The other two ladies command them no less kindly to you two knights too, and desire your worships would meet them at Barnet in the morning with the captain.
Goose, Rud, oh good sir.
I think probably Goose-cap and Rudesby say that together, don't they?
Yes, that might be right. That might be speech prefix, wouldn't it? Yeah, so everybody goes, oh, good
Yeah.
sir. Yes.
Oh, right. Oh, good sir.
Good sir.
Good sir.
Our worships shall attend their ladyships thither.
Oh, no, Sir Giles, by no means. They will go privately thither. But few will meet them there.
Meet them? We'll die for it, but we'll meet them.
Let's go thither tonight, knights, and you be true gallants.
Content.
How greedily they take it in, sirrah.
No, it is too far to go tonight. We'll be up betimes in the morning and not go to bed at all.
Why, it's but 10 miles, and a fine clear night, Sir Giles.
But 10 miles? What do you talk, Captain?
Why, dost think it's any more?
Aye, I'll lay £10. It's more than 10 mile, or 12 either.
What, to Barnet?
Aye, to Barnet.
Slid, I'll lay £100 with thee if thou wilt.
I'll lay 500 to 100. Slight, I will not be outborne with a wager, in that I know, I am sure it was 4 years agone, 10 miles thither, and I hope 'tis more now. Slid, do not miles grow, think you, as well as other animals?
Oh, wise knight.
I never inned in the town but once, and then they lodged me in a chamber so full of these ridiculous fleas that I was fain to lie standing all night. And yet I made my man rise and put out the candle too, because they should not see to bite me.
Oh, pretty project.
In truth, Captain, if I might advise you, you should tarry and take the morning afore you.
How, oh mon Dieu, how the villain poltroon dishonors his travel, you buffoonly moucheron. Are you so mere rude and English to advise your captain?
Nay, I prithee, foul weather, be not tempestuous with thy poor lackey.
Tempestuous, Sir Cut. Will your Frenchman, think you, suffer his lackey to advise him?
Oh God, you must take heed, lackey, how you advise your captain. Your French lackey would not have done it.
He would have been poxed first, allume la torche. Sweet pages, commend us to your ladies. Say we kiss their white hands and will not fail to meet them. Knights, which of you leads?
Oh, not we, sir. You are a captain and a leader.
Besides, thou art commended for the better man, for thou art very commendations itself, and captain commendations.
Why, what though I be captain commendations?
Why, and captain commendations is hearty commendations, for captains are hearty, I'm sure, or else hang them.
Why, what if I be hearty commendations? Come, come, sweet knights, lead the way.
Oh, Lord, sir, always after my hearty commendations.
Nay, when you conquer me with precedent, and by the autentical form of all justice letters, allons.
And exit, except for Jack and Will.
Here's a most sweet gudgeon swallowed, is there not?
Aye, but how will they digest it, thinkest thou, when they shall find our ladies not there?
I have a born couriering device. Shall make them digest it most healthfully.
And exeunt. So, yes, we've got a very brief introduction to the ladies. The ladies decide to leave very wisely, and then the chaps we've heard so much about enter. So we have Captain Thesaurus Foulweather, who literally just seems to be just thesaurusing left, right, and centre all over the shop at times. It's yeah, we've had all these gags set up, of course, earlier. The gag was explained to us so we can find it hilarious. And there is an interesting question. Do we find it hilarious? Do we find it just a little bit tedious? Question to the room. Yeah, how are we finding this now that not so much sustained action is occurring? There's a lot of sort of stuff happening. I don't know if, we've got the hints of a plot is now sort of bubbling away under the surface, but not a lot of action as of yet. Lynn, then Alan.
Just a costume history note. So a smock was not what we think of as a smock, or at least not here in the US. The smock was the undergarment that was worn closest to the skin. So when they're talking about ladies' smocks, they're actually talking about lingerie. So it's a little bit naughty. And the whiter your smock was, the sort of higher class you were supposed to be. So there's something kind of a little bit naughty about talking about ladies' smocks. But the other thing I have is a question. So is Foulweather French, or is he just like kind of faux French?
I believe he's faux French, but it's an interesting question whether the audience should know that at this stage, or whether that's something that's clear. Alan, then Lois.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably Foulweather and his servant would probably be dressed French fashion, even if they're basically imposters. I thought it was quite interesting the point at which the ladies withdrew, leaving the gentlemen to their port, or whatever the appropriate equivalent would have been at the time. There was a one-liner in there from one of the other ladies where she thanked the hostess for a light supper, and I did just wonder whether there was a slight edge in that somewhere, that the hostess was being portrayed as being slightly mean.
Yeah. I bet that's true.
It's also following directly on from the question, the statement to light the ladies as they exit. So I also wonder if there's just some light wordplay just dancing about there as well. Lois, then Eric.
Oh, yeah. Just a point on the whiteness of smocks. I think I've discovered this with Eastward Ho, needless to say. Apparently, London city women were supposed to have particularly white and fine linen. People comment on it. Even foreigners commented on how white it was. I mean, the other thing is, I really haven't the faintest idea what they're talking about half the time. I mean, some of these jokes are really not landing, and I can't make out what you could do even to get them across.
I have to say, a certain amount of pruning, I think, is required, because there's in a sense that there's the jokes that where you need a gloss to know what actually the joke is. You can sense it's shaped like a joke, and you can see you don't actually know what the actual joke means. So there's that sort of issue, and then there's just sort of the question of the verbosity and of some of the responses. Is how structurally necessary some of that is. Can it be contracted slightly? And so the energy's there, and the shape of it's there, but it does feel like you had to be there at the moment, and that's sort of making it. And comedy's always a bit like that. That's always that problem. Time is cruel to comedy in a way that it's not so much for tragedy. Eric.
I was just going to say, I enjoyed the whole, it was such a brief supper. We didn't get the chance to show off our intellect and stuff. It's like, come on. No one would have enjoyed that particular exchange, I feel. At least none of the ladies. I get you kind of get the impression that they're basically sort of setting Foulweather up to fail. You
didn't need anybody's help on that.
Yeah. And also, I did enjoy the whole. It's but 10 miles. We can do that in 10 minutes or whatever. And just sort of miles grow as much as any other animal.
Yes. Yeah, I like that joke. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good joke.
I do like the way that Jack and Will just gloss what happened in the scene in the last few lines, because I have to say, if they hadn't just said, "Oh, we've sent them to somewhere where the ladies aren't," I wouldn't have got that from the scene at all. And I think there is an exposition issue there. After a scene of exposition, or at least character exposition, once it came to this scene, I was struggling to follow what they were doing. But and then again, maybe the physicality of it in action will demonstrate that better. Sometimes this format does not help explain complicated little interactions. Aliki, then Francis.
I mean, if it helps, I was wondering why the ladies had invited them, because they were clearly glad to be rid of them.
Yes.
Sometimes you send these invites out and then you just go, "Oh God, have you met them?" Who knows? Obligations. There was, there's somebody's second cousin or something. Francis, then Lois, and Lynn.
Yeah, what I found surprising is that Jack and Will came in and immediately started trying to trick the gentleman. I mean, okay, we realised that they were trying to trick them because they were saying, Eugenia wants you to meet her in Barnet tomorrow morning, and we already knew, because the ladies talk amongst themselves, they couldn't stand Sir Foulweather. But I'm in these plays, I'm used to a sort of an establishing scene between the servants where they say, "Oh yeah, we're going to play this trick on our betters," and they're egging each other on. But there was none of that. They just went in and did that. I just found it striking.
Yes, they sort of established their opinion of their betters, but they hadn't actually established what they were going to do to their betters, as it were. Was it Lois next? Yes.
I think at least some of these men are courting some of these ladies, aren't they? I mean, Eugenia's last line is, before she exits, is, "I shall never be troubled with dreaming of my French suitor." Is that Foulweather, or is there somebody else after her? I suppose we'll find out.
I think it's Foulweather.
I assume it's Foulweather, yes.
Yeah.
Aliki, and then I'll go to Lynn.
Yeah, and Foulweather had some line about how he had used some of his best witticisms that would cut a swath right through the French court ladies, right? He's got a whole pickup artist manual. This is what he say.
And also just the question, if Foulweather isn't really French, but is his page French? I just like the idea that he's got this a genuine French page, and actually he can't understand a word the page says. I just quite like it. That's just it's not a gag in the text. It's just a gag. I just quite like the idea. Or the page just pretends he doesn't understand English, just to piss off his master. I quite like that. Lynn, then Alan, then Eric. And then we'll move on.
I like your gag, Rob. So back a few lines to what are they even doing there? Why are we entertaining these dorks? I think probably, what I imagine is that the men come calling in the late afternoon. "Hi, we just came to say hello. How you doing?" They sit down, and supper time rolls around. And what are you going to do? Say, "Leave, we're going to eat now"? Like, "Oh, we're about to have supper. Why don't you stay?"
Yes, I've been there. Alan.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm getting the feeling that both Foulweather and his servant are Brits, but are trying to pass themselves off as Frenchified. And I think what we've got is, with Jack and Will, basically the two ne'er-do-well young servants who are basically anything for a gag, which started off with that opening scene where they're ragging the third servant.
Eric, and then Lois, and then we will definitely move on.
I just wanted to shout out the flea joke. That was really good, and made my man rise and put out the candle so that they shouldn't bite me, because that's exactly how fleas work. Yeah.
Lois.
A bit I really don't get is I think foul weather is also known as Captain Commendations, which appears to be an insulting name given to him, but he uses it himself. Other people use it. They seem to refer to it. I don't know whether when it's used to him, he's meant to get angry about it because it's really not exactly a complimentary nickname. But that whole bit I just don't really get. And the way indeed that they keep playing on everybody's names. You know, somebody's named foul weather, so let's shut the window and keep him out. I mean, really.
Okay, well, let's move on. Find out where we're going. We've got one more scene in Act 1 to go. Act 1, Scene 4. Enter Clarence. Not met Clarence before, and some musicians.
Work on, sweet love. I am not yet resolved to exhaust this troubled spring of vanities and nurse of perturbations, my poor life. And therefore, since in every man that holds this being dear, there must be some desire, whose power to enjoy his object may so mask the judging part, that in her radiant eyes his estimation of the world may seem upright and worthy, I have chosen love to blind my reason with his misty hands, and make my estimative powers believe I have a project worthy to employ what worth soever my home and affords. Then sit at rest, my soul. Thou now hast found the end of thy infusion. In the eyes of thy divine Eugenia, look for heaven. Thanks, gentle friends.
A song to the viols. Ah! We don't know what the song is.
Is your good lord and mine gone to bed yet?
Into Momford.
I do assure ye not, sir, not yet. Nor yet, my deep and studious friend. Not yet, musical Clarence.
My lord.
Not yet, thou, sole divider of my lordship.
That were a most unfit division, and far above the pitch of my low plumes. I am your bold and constant guest, my lord.
Far, far from bold, for thou hast known me long, almost these 20 years, and half those years hast been my bedfellow. Long time before this unseen thing, this thing of naught indeed, or atom, called my lordship, shined in me, and yet thou makest thyself as little bold to take such kindness as becomes the age and truth of our indissoluble love, as our acquaintance sprung but yesterday. Such is thy gentle and too tender spirit.
My lord, my want of courtship makes me fear I should be rude, and this, my mean estate, means with such envy and detraction, such misconstructions and resolved misdooms of my poor worth, that should I be advanced beyond my unseen lowness but one hair, I should be torn in pieces with the spirits that fly in ill-lunged tempest through the world, tearing the head of virtue from her shoulders, if she but look out of the ground of glory. Twixt whom and me, and every worldly fortune, there fights such sour and cursed antipathy, so waspish and so petulant a star, that all things tending to my grace or good are ravished from their object, as I were a thing created for a wilderness, and must not think of any place with men.
Oh, hark you, sir, this wayward mood of yours must sifted be, or else rooted out. You'll no more music, sir?
Not now, my lord.
Begone, my masters, then, to bed, to bed.
I thank you, honest friends.
Exit musicians.
Hence with this. Look, and now. Monsieur Clarence, methinks plain and prose friendship would do excellent well betwixt us. Come, thus, sir, or rather thus, come, sir.
Embracing him.
'Tis time, I trow, that we both lived like one body, thus, and that both our sides were slit and corporate with organs fit to effect an individual passage, even for our very thoughts. Suppose we were one body now, and I charge you believe it, whereof I am the heart, and you the liver.
Your lordship might well make that division, if you knew the plain song.
Oh, sir, and why so, I pray?
first, because the heart is the more worthy entrail, being the first that is born and moves, and the last that moves and dies, and then being the fountain of heat too, for whatsoever our heat does not flow directly from the heart to the other organs, their action must of necessity cease. And so without you, I neither would nor could live.
Well, sir, for these reasons I may be the heart. Why may you be the liver now?
I am the more ashamed to tell you, my lord.
Nay, be not too suspicious of my judgment in you, I beseech you. Ashamed, friend? If your love overcome not that shame, ashamed take that love, I say. Come, sir, why may you be the liver?
The plain and short truth is, my lord, because I am all liver and turned lover.
Lover?
Lover, in faith, my lord.
Now, I prithee, let me leap out of my skin for joy. Why, thou wilt not now revive the sociable mirth of thy sweet disposition? Wilt thou shine in the world anew, and make those that have slighted thy love with the austerity of thy knowledge dote on thee again with thy commanding shaft of their humours?
Alas, my lord, they're all far out of my aim, and only to fit myself a little better to your friendship, I have given these wilful reins to my affection.
And in faith is my sour friend to all worldly desires o'ertaken with the heart of the world, love. I shall be monstrous proud now to hear she's every way a most rare woman that I know thy spirit and judgment hath chosen. Is she wise? Is she noble? Is she capable of thy virtues? Will she kiss this forehead with judicial lips, where so much judgment and virtue deserves it? Come, brother, twin, be short, I charge you, and name me the woman.
Since your lordship will shorten the length of my folly's relation, the woman that I so passionately love is no worse a lady than your own niece, the too worthy Countess Eugenia.
Why, so. You are a worthy friend, are you not, to conceal this love mine in your head, and would not open it to your heart? Now beshrew my heart, if my heart dance not for joy, though my heels do not, and they do not, because I will not see it set that at my heels, that my friend sets at his heart. What friend? A nephew both. Nephew is a far inferior title to friend, I confess, but I will prefer thee backwards, as many friends do, and leave their friends worse than they found them.
But, my noble lord, it is almost a prodigy that I, being only a poor gentleman and far short of that state and wealth that a lady of her greatness in both will expect in her husband.
Hold thy doubt, friend. Never fear any woman, unless thyself be made of straw or such dry matter, and she of lightning. Audacity prospers above probability in all worldly matters. Dost thou not know that fortune governs them without order, and therefore reason, the mother of order, is none of her counsel? Why should a man, desiring to aspire an unreasonable creature, which is seek her fruition by reasonable means? Because thyself builds upon reason, wilt thou look for congruity in a woman? Why, there is not one woman amongst 1,000 but will speak false Latin and break Priscian's head. Tempt nothing that you may with great reason doubt of, and out of doubt you shall obtain nothing. I tell thee, friend, the eminent confidence of strong spirits is the only witchcraft of this world. Spirits wrasting with spirits as bodies with bodies. This were enough to make thee hope well, if she were one of these painted communities that are ravished with coaches and upper hands and brave men of dirt. But thou knowest, friend, she's a good scholar, and like enough to bite at the rightest reason, and reason evermore at optima hortator, to like that which is best, not that which is bravest, or richest, or greatest, and so consequently worst. But prove what she can. We will turn her and wind her and make her so pliant that we will draw her through a wedding ring. In faith.
Would to God we might, my lord.
I'll warrant thee, friend.
Enter a messenger, but I think I'll just very briefly pause for the messenger, because again we were discussing earlier about sometimes struggling to know what's going on, but I did find the sort of step change of Clarence's opening oration, just going, what's anyone saying? And once Momford sort of got into it, came in, and it sort of picked up a bit, and I was sort of going, I know, Clarence sad. Momford will cheer up Clarence. Clarence is in love. Clarence is in love with... it just took an age to get there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lynn.
Yeah.
Lynn, yes.
Yeah, I don't know what to make of this, but yeah, we have that sort of rather abrupt change into blank verse and extremely hypotatic syntax, like clauses within clauses and all these sort of parenthetical. The syntax is really hard to parse. And I don't know whether that's just supposed to signal he's intelligent and sophisticated, and we've sort of changed mood or tone a little bit here, and the audience is supposed to be able to get their head around that, or whether it's kind of mocking that style. You know, and the same goes for the friendship. Homosocial relations were extremely prestigious. I mean, that was sort of the most valued relationships I've heard in this period are between two men who are of equal social rank and have a lot in common. It's like, that's like the best relationship. The best love is between two men. So is that what this is playing out, or is this making fun of that social value?
Because, we've got a musical element here as well, so that's going to set tone a bit and make this, that sense. And I think Lois was suggesting in the chat about, is Clarence actually quoting? And there's talk of a book. Is that opening speech actually, just he's being an artist. He's reading. There's music playing. He's doing all those things, kind of set up. Sarah.
Just my response to Lynn's question, really. I think it has to be a piss take, this, because the thing that really got me was that that extended metaphor about them living in one body and being slit down the middle and being like the different organs. And he goes into it in such detail, and it's like, oh, I'm the heart and you're the liver, and I'm like, what? that cannot be anything other than satire, surely. If it's not, then I'm slightly disturbed about the age that this play is set in.
Okay, let's finish the scene and move on. So we had a merciful arrival of a messenger.
Here is Mistress Winifred from my lady Eugenia, desires to speak with your lordship.
Marry, enter. Mistress Winifred, even here, I pray thee. From the lady Eugenia, do you hear, friend?
Very easily on that side, my lord.
Let me feel. Does not thy heart pant apace? By my heart well laboured, Cupid. The field is yours, Sir God, and upon a very honourable composition. I am sent for now, I am sure, and must even trust and to her.
Enter Winifred.
Witty Mistress Winifred, nay, come here, woman. I am sure this gentleman thinks his chamber the sweeter for your sweet presence.
My absence shall thank him, my lord.
What rude, Mistress Winifred! Nay, faith, you shall come to him and kiss him for his kindness.
Nay, good my lord, I'll never go to the market for that ware. I can have it brought to my door, home to my door.
Oh, Winifred, a man may know by the market folk how the market goes.
So you may, my lord, but I know few lords that think scorn to go to that market themselves.
To go to it, Winifred, nay, to ride to it, i' faith.
That's more than I know, my lord.
You'll not believe it then till you're a horseback, will ya?
Come, I am sent of a message to you. Will you hear it?
Stop, fair Winifred. Would you have an audience so soon? There were no state of that, faith. This fair gentlewoman, sir.
Oh, now we shall have a fiction, I believe.
Had 3 suitors at once.
You leave out none, my lord?
No more did you, Winifred. You interfered with them all, in truth.
Oh, monstrous, lord, by this light.
Now, sir, to make my tale short, I will do that which she did not, viz. Leave out the first 2. The third, coming the third night for his turn.
My lord, my lady does that nobody else does. Desires your company. And so, fare you well.
Oh, stay a little, sweet Winifred. Help me but to truss my points again, and have with you.
Not I, by my troth, my lord. I would rather see your hose about your heels than I would help you truss a point.
Oh, witty Winifred! For that jest, take thy passport, and tell thy lady thou left'st me with my hose about my heels.
Well, my lord, you shall sit till the moss grow about your heels, ere I come at you again.
Exit Winifred.
Cannot abide to hear of her 3 suitors. Is not this very fit, my sweet Clarence? Thou seest my rare niece cannot sleep without me, but for thy company's sake she shall tonight, and in the morning I will visit her early, when do thou but stand in that place, and thou may chance to hear, that are sure to see, in what subtle and far-fetched manner I'll solicit her about thee.
Thanks, worthy lord.
And exit. So we found out from Winifred that other suitors are all rubbish. You've got a chance. You're in for a chance, Clarence. But you've got Momford batting for your corner, and let's just say Winifred is not impressed with his bants there. Help me but to trust my points again and have with you. Not disturbing at all.
Yeah.
Just to help me adjust my
trousers.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Who hasn't got an uncle like this?
Yeah. Well,
you don't want to hear his... anyway, what he's like after a few beers. Lois, then Lynn, then Eric.
Yeah. There is Cressida's uncle, Pandarus, isn't there? I think he was Troilus and Crusade. I don't know if that's the source, but he acts rather like that guy.
Lynn.
Yeah, so I'm kind of hoping that Clarence is actually the romantic character. It is comedy. Comedies end in marriage very often. But if he's friends with the uncle, he might be older, but it might be like the uncle is 40-ish and Clarence is 30-ish and Eugenia is 20-ish, which doesn't make the age difference unusual for the period. So we'll see. I think maybe I just want him to win in the end because I'm reading him today.
And confusingly, you're also reading Eugenia, so you're wooing
yourself. But he does seem sincere and he's very humble. He's like, oh, she's too good for me, and that's kind of a good sign. That's something that would signal to the audience that he's a good person, that he's humble, and that he understands there's a class difference and a wealth difference, and that matters to him.
Yeah, it does indeed matter to society. Maybe Clarence needs a Momford, however awful that experience may be. Eric.
I was just going to say that, Momford had some weird jokes with Clarence, but then when Winifred shows up, he has this whole sort of flirty persona, which is just kind of not creepy, but it just, yeah. it's sort of like I don't know. I just like how Winifred goes, nobody else desires your company, okay? Nobody wants to hang out with you. You still have not got the message, but hey, I'm here. I have to deliver this message.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mic drop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Winifred is a very empowered servant here, and there really is a given. And I have to say, you shall sit till the moss grow about your heels. Ere I come at you again. It's just there is no ambiguity, and I don't know how seriously Momford is his flirtiness is. Well, I don't think he actually necessarily maybe he does expect to get somewhere. I don't know. He's that kind of entitled male, probably. So who knows? But of course, he is here primarily to get information. That's what he's trying to do. Lois, Alan, and then Sarah, and then we will move on.
Well, there is this assumption about ladies' chambermaids being women of, shall we say, easy virtue, and he certainly has suggested that every suitor sort of goes via her to the lady. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, I don't know if this is meant to be just the usual sort of badinage. I mean, obviously it would be horribly insulting if anybody were saying this now, but perhaps it's just fun. Perhaps they're both having fun. I don't know.
Maybe they do this every time they meet, and it's all it's just the closer you are to someone, the more you can insult them. So maybe that's how it functions. Alan,
I'm just wondering, because we're talking about what's effectively a boys' company play again. Any possible double entendre or smutty gag will be milked to the limit.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think there's that sequence with Winifred, could be played quite rough, I think.
Sarah.
No, I was just going to say what you and Lois said between you. I can envisage this is a long-standing thing where every time she goes to see him with a message from Eugenia, they have this thing where he's like, oh, do this for me, and she's like, no, you're disgusting, I'm going. And it's just built up over years and years. Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go into the long Act 2, because there is only one scene in Act 2, effectively. You could break it up a bit, but it's basically one ongoing, flowing bit of action, which is annoying, because it means that we've had to cram slightly more text in today than we normally would, with less discussion. But I didn't see any point in breaking it up. So Act 2, Scene 1, we've had a little bit of a candle trimming musical break. We have to have done, because Clarence, having left just a minute ago, comes straight back on stage.
I that have studied with world-scorning thoughts the way to heaven, and how true heaven is reached, to know how mighty and how many are the strange affections of enchanted number, how to distinguish all the motions of the celestial bodies, and what power doth separate in such from this massy round, what is his essence, efficacies, beams, footsteps, and shadows, what eternus is, the world and time and generation, what soul the world, what the world's soul is, what the black springs and unrevealed original of things, what their perseverance, what is life and death, and what are certain restoration, am with the staid heads of this time employed to watch with all my nerves a female shade.
And Dr. Faustus retires. Sorry, Clarence retires. Enter Winifred, Annabel with their sewing works, and they sing. No song recorded. After their song, enter Lord Momford.
Witty Mistress Winifred, where is your countess, I pray?
Faith, your lordship is bold enough to seek her out if she were at her urinal.
Then she is done, it seems, for here she comes to save me that labour.
Enter Eugenia.
Away, wenches! Get you hence, wenches!
Exeunt Winifred and Annabel.
Eugenia, that's me. I'm an idiot. Sorry. You cannot abide my maids, uncle.
I never could abide a maid. in my life, niece. But either I draw away the maid or the maiden with a wet finger.
You love to make yourself worse than you are still.
I know few men in this world, madam, for the worse the better thought on, the better the worse spoken on, ever amongst women.
I wonder where you have been all this while with your sentences.
Faith, where I must be again presently, I cannot stay long with you, my dear niece.
By my faith, but you shall, my lord. God's pity, what will become you? What will become of you shortly, that you drive maids afore you and offer to leave widows behind you? As mankindly as if you had taken a surfeit of our sex lately, and of our sight turned your stomach.
God's my life, she abuses her best uncle. Never trust me, if it were not a good revenge to help her to the loss of her widowhead.
That were a revenge and a half, indeed.
Nay, 'twere but a whole revenge, niece, but such a revenge as would more than observe the true rule of a revenger.
I know your rule before you utter it. Ulcesere inimico sed sine io in commando.
Oh, rare niece, you may see what it is to be a scholar now. Learning in a woman is like weight in gold or luster in diamonds, which in no other stone is so rich or refulgent.
But say, dear uncle, how could you find it in your heart to stay so long from me?
Why, alas, niece, you are so smeared with this wilful widow's 3 years' black weed, that I never come to you but I dream of corses and sepulchres and epitaphs all the night after. And therefore adieu, dear niece.
Beshrew my heart, my lord, if you go these 3 hours.
3 hours, nay, niece. If I dance attendance 3 hours alone in her chamber with any lady so near allied to me, I am very idle, in faith. Marry, with such another, I would dance 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. It cost me 10 shillings. And now I am in, have at it. My head must devise something, while my feet are piddling thus, that may bring her to some fit consideration of my friend, who indeed is only a great scholar, and all his honours and riches lie in his mind.
Come, pray tell me, uncle, how does my cousin Momford?
Why, well, very well, niece. And so is my friend Clarence. Very well, too. And there's a worthy gentleman as any I have seen in England, I can tell you.
He danceth, speaketh.
But when did you see my cousin?
And 'tis pity, but he should do well, and he shall do well, too, if all my wealth will make him well.
What means he by this, trow? Your lordship is very dancetive, methinks.
Aye, and I could tell you a thing would make your ladyship very dancetive, or else it were very duncetive, i' faith. Oh, how the skipping of this Christmas block of ours moves that blockhead heart of a woman, and indeed anything that pleaseth the foolish eye, which presently runs with a lying tale of excellence to the mind.
But I pray tell me, my lord, could you tell me of a thing would make me dance, say you?
Well, farewell, sweet niece, I must needs take my leave in earnest.
Lord bless us, here's such a stir with your farewells.
I will see you again within these 2 or 3 days, on my word, niece.
God's precious, 2 or 3 days. Why, this lord is a marvelous strange humor. Sit down, sweet uncle, in faith, I have to talk to you about great matters.
Say then, dear niece, be short. Utter your mind, quickly now.
But I pray tell me first, what's that would make me dance, in faith?
Dance? What dance? Hitherto your dancer's legs bow, forsooth, and caper, and jerk, and firk, and dandle the body above them, as it were their great child, though the special jerker be above his place. I hope here lies that should fetch a perfect woman over the coals, in faith.
Nay, good uncle, say, what's the thing you could tell me of?
No matter, no matter. Let me see. Passing prosperous forehead, of an exceeding happy distance betwixt the eyebrows, a clear lightning to eye, a temperate and fresh blood in both the cheeks, excellent, most excellent of good fortune.
How now, uncle? Did you never see me before?
Yes, niece, but the state of these things at this instant must be specially observed, and these outward signs being now in this clear elevation show your untroubled mind is in an excellent power to prefer them to act forth than a little, dear niece.
This is excellent.
The crises here are excellent good, the proportion of the chin, good, the little aptness of it to stick out, good, and the wart above it, most exceeding good. Never trust me if all things be not answerable to the prediction of a most divine fortune towards her. Now, if she have the grace to apprehend it in the nick, there's all.
Well, my lord, since you will not give me your secret, I'll keep another from you, with whose discovery you may much pleasure me, and whose concealment may hurt my estate. And if you be no kinder than to see me so endangered, I'll be very patient of it, I assure you.
Nay, then it must instantly forth. This kind conjuration even fires it out of me. And to be short, gather all your judgment together, for here it comes. Niece! Clarence! Clarence, rather my soul than my friend, Clarence, of too substantial a worth to have any figures cast about him, notwithstanding no other woman with empires could stir his affections, is, with your virtues, most extremely in love, without your requital, dead. And with it, fame shall sound this golden distich through the world of you both, non illo melioi quisquam ne amateur cui vir fuit aut ilia perventior ulla deorum.
Ay me, poor dame. Oh, you amaze me, uncle. Is this the wondrous fortune you presage? What man may miserable women trust?
Oh, peace, good lady. I come not to ravish you to anything. But now I see how you accept my motion. I perceive how, upon true trial, you esteem me. Have I rid all this circuit to levy the powers of your judgment, that I might not prove their strength too suddenly with so violent a charge? And do they fight it out in white blood, and show me their hearts in the soft crystal of tears?
Oh, uncle, you have wounded yourself in charging me that I should shun judgment as a monster if it would not weep. I place the poor felicity of this world in a worthy friend, and to see him so unworthily revolted, I shed not the tears of my brain, but the tears of my soul. And if ever nature made tears the effect of any worthy cause, I am sure I now shed them worthily.
Her sensual powers are up, i'faith. I have thrust her soul quite from her tribunal. This is her sedes vacans, when her subjects are privileged to libel against her and her friends. But weeps my kind niece for the wounds of my friendship, and I touched in friendship for wishing my dear friend doubled in her singular happiness.
How am I doubled when my honor and good name, two essential parts of me, would be less and lost?
In whose judgment?
In the judgment of the world.
Which is a fool's bolt. Nihila virtute nea veritate remotius, quam vulgaris opinio. But my dear niece, it is most true that your honor and good name, tendered as they are the species of truth, are worthily two essential parts of you, but as they consist only in airy titles of corruptible blood, whose bitterness sanitas et non nobilitas efficit, and care not how many base and execrable acts they commit, they touch you no more than they touch eternity. And yet shall no nobility you have in either be impaired, either.
Not to marry a poor gentleman.
Respect him not so, for as he is a gentleman, he is noble. As he is wealthily furnished with knowledge, he is rich, and therein adorned with the exactest compliments belonging to everlasting nobleness.
Which yet will not maintain him a week. Such kind of nobleness gives no costs of honor, nor can scarce get a coat for necessity.
Then it is not substantial knowledge, then is it not substantial knowledge, as it is in him, but verbal and fantastical, for omnia in ilia ille compleu tenet.
Why seeks he me then?
To make you joint partners with him in all things, and there is but a little partial difference betwixt you that hinders that universal jointure. The bigness of this circle held too near our eye keeps it from the whole sphere of the sun. But could we sustain it indifferently betwixt us, and it would then without check of one beam appear in his fullness.
Good uncle, be content, for now I shall never dream of contentment.
I have more than done, lady, and had rather have suffered an alteration of my being than of your judgment. But, dear niece, for your own honour's sake, repair it instantly.
And we'll pause here before everybody else comes back in. So yes, take a breath, Momford. I mean, there's some lovely bits of argument in there. I like that Montford's aim here is that Clarence and Eugenia should make joint partners in all things. You know, I think there's some nice bits in there, but there's a lot of stuff there, isn't there? There's just a huge scene after Clarence has done his Dr. Faustus impression. Momford has come on saying some truly questionable lines of dialogue, and then we get this scene, and this thing. He danceth speaking. So you know he's doing a little dance. What's his little dance? What dance is he doing at that point? He's full of random things, and again, there comes a point when he actually sort of gets to the point of the scene, and it's like it just takes an awful long time to get there. So I'm wondering if staged with, you know, servants and music and stuff going on here, that this isn't as long as it feels, but it does feel like an awfully long scene that needs to some pruning. I think that seems to be the general note for this play overall, is some pruning. There's some good stuff here, but there's an awful lot of it. There's a lot of shrubbery around. Not the kind of thing I'd like to say in front of Momford. Okay. Other thoughts from the room. He's doing dressage. Okay. Stephen, then Lois. Stephen, you're muted at the moment.
I think it was just really Sarah's point about him doing dressage. It's such a wordy play, isn't it? It's such a relief to actually have a stage picture of something physical happening, and also the kind of dance he's doing. You know, I'm not a dance historian or anything, but you know, there's basically two kinds of dances: there's sort of country dances and court dances, and he seems to be doing a kind of country dance, and all the references to the dancing are to these kind of sort of turns and things that he does. And I'm interested in that as a kind of improvisatory moment, you know, that if we do, especially if we do have a child performer, you know, that somebody is being given the freedom to dance while speaking. It says something about the professionalism, but it also says something about the, you know, that even though this is the sort of script where, you know, you do get the sense that if you start improvising a little bit, that, you know, that it could all go a bit Pete Dong. I like the idea that there's a bit of improv in here as well, and that you know, that improv is life, as we know. So I was really pleased to see that. I like the kind of, you know, the stage picture and the physicality, but I think Sarah's point about him doing dressage probably makes it much more economically and makes it better.
Yeah, Yeah, Lois.
Well, just that, I mean, I didn't realize with my earlier reference to Pandarus how close this was going to turn out to be, because if I remember Troilus and Crusade rightly, her uncle Pandarus does come along saying that he's got a big secret to tell her, and he spins it out a bit. And when he finally tells her, she does sort of, I think, burst into tears and say, "Oh, this is awful. That was your good news. Oh no." So I mean, it's rather similar.
Yeah. And yeah, it's Lynn.
Yeah, we'll have to get further along in the play to figure out what's going on. I kind of didn't know how to play Eugenia's intentions here. Is she just saying, "Oh no, Clarence, not that. I don't even like him," but she does? Or is she actually interested in her first cousin, a Montford's son, I would guess? And, question, was it okay for first cousins to marry in this period?
Not sure on that one. But yeah, I mean, it's just this. Oh, yes, that was the point I was going to make earlier. The question about Momford, because of course Momford is an older character played, but again by a boy. So it's what age is the boy? How is that age performed? He's not an old character, but he's an older character. And that's the question I was just thinking about. Alan.
I must admit, I'm getting a feeling from Eugenia's lines, I may be completely wrong, that actually she quite likes her present status and doesn't actually want to get reshackled. And that's the concept. It's not so much who someone's trying to pair her off with, it's the fact they're trying to pair her off with anybody.
Yes, and it's an interesting legal question about the nature of her widowhood, because were they technically married? If they were technically married and she inherited whatever or gained certain properties from her then ex dead husband, she might actually be in a very, very comfortable position actually as a widow. If she hadn't actually married, then less so. But it could be that she's very comfortable. Thank you very much. That's actually quite a nice point. Yes, I like that. Eric, then Lynn. Ooh. I'll go to Lynn.
Sorry.
Oh no, Eric.
Yeah, no,
yes.
sorry, my phone was ringing. Yeah, weird things going. What was I going to say? I was just going to say that it would be interesting, also because widows are usually depicted as sort of lusty and sort of insatiable, as we've seen, at least in terms of like sort of sexual desire and sensual things, whereas Eugenia doesn't seem to give that vibe.
Yeah.
It's more Momford sort of trying to depict that, to sort of impose that identity on her, which is weird.
Yes, the descriptions by the servants at the beginning do seem to be in earnest about Countess Eugenia, that she is a countess of many talents, and apart from obviously the Queen. The Queen is better, but not for much longer. Lynn.
Yeah, so responding to Eric and Rob, the stereotype was that widows were lusty, but that's because their marriages had been consummated. I guess the idea was kind of that once a woman had intercourse and knew how awesome it was, she couldn't get enough. But her husband died at the altar. So she is, in a way, sort of the ideal catch. She's a widow, she has property, but no man has ever had her.
And on that note, let's finish the scene. So we had this epic two-hander for ages and ages, but now we have entering to them, enter Hippolyta, Penelope, Jack, and Will.
See, here come the ladies. Make an April day on't, dear love, and be suddenly cheerful. God save you, more than fair ladies. I am glad you're come, for my business will have me gone presently.
Why, my Lord Momford, I say, will you go before dinner?
No remedy, sweet beauties, for which rudeness I lay my hands thus low for your pardons.
Oh, courteous Lord Momford.
Niece, mens est quae sola quietos, sola facit claros, mentemque honoribus ornat.
And Momford retires.
Vires ones juvat at mendax infamia terret.
Oh, dear nephew.
What success, my lord?
Excellent, excellent. Come, I'll tell thee all.
And exeunt Momford and Clarence.
Do you hear, madam, how our youth here have gulled our 3 suitors?
Not I, lady. I hope our suitors are no fit meat for our pages.
No, madam, but they are fit sauce for any man's meat, I'll warrant them.
What's the matter, Hippolyta?
They have sent the knights to Barnet, madam, this frosty morning to meet us there.
Is it true, youths? Are knights fit subjects for your knaveries?
Oh, pray pardon us, madam. We should be glad to please anybody.
Aye, indeed, madam. We were sure we pleased them highly to tell them you were desirous of their company.
Oh, 'twas good, Eugenia. Their livers were too hot, you know, and for temper's sake they must needs have a cooling card played upon them.
And besides, madam, we would have them know that your 2 little pages, which are less by half than 2 leaves, have more learning in them than is in all their 3 volumes.
Aye, if faith will, and put their pagical index to them too.
But how will ye excuse your abuses, wags?
Oh, we doubt not, madam, but if it pleases your ladyship to put up their abuses,
Trusting they're not so dear to you, but you may.
we shall make them gladly furnish their pockets with them.
Well, children and fools, agree as you will, and let the world know now women have nothing to do with you.
Come, madam, I think your dinner be almost ready.
Enter Lord Tales and Sir Clement Kingcob.
And see, here are 2 honourable guests for you, the Lord Tales and Sir Clement Kingcob.
Lack you any guests, madam?
Aye, my lord, such guests as you.
There's as common an answer as yours was a question, my lord.
Why, things should be common between lords and ladies, you know.
Indeed, Sir Clement Kingcob, I have heard you are either of the family of love or of no religion at all.
He may well be said to be of the family of love. He does so flow in the loves of the poor overthrown ladies.
You speak of that I would do, madam. But in earnest, I'm now suing for a new mistress. Look in my hand, sweet lady, and tell me what fortune I shall have with her.
Do you think me a witch, Sir Clement?
Not me, madam, but I know you to be learned in all things.
Come, let's see.
He does you a special favour, lady, to give you his open hand, for 'tis commonly shut, they say.
What find you in it, madam?
Shut it now, and I'll tell ye.
What now, lady?
You have the worst hand that ever I saw a knight have. When 'tis open, one can find nothing in it. When 'tis shut, one can get nothing on it.
The age of letting go is past, madam. We must not now let go, but strike at men's heels and take them as they fall.
A good Cornish principle, believe it, Sir Clement.
But I pray tell me, Lady Penelope, how entertain you the love of my cousin, Sir Giles Goosecap?
Are the Goose-caps akin to you, my lord?
Even in the first degree, madam. And Sir Giles, I can tell ye, though he seems something simple, is composed of as many good parts as any knight in England.
He should be put up for concealment, then, for he shows none of them.
Are you able to reckon his good parts, my lord?
I do the best I can, lady. At the first, he dances as comely and lightly as any man. Upon my honour, I have seen him dance upon eggs and has not broken them.
Nor crack them, neither?
That I know not. Indeed, I would be loath to lie, though he be my kinsman, to speak more than I know by him.
Well, forth, my lord.
He has an excellent skill in all manner of perfumes. if you bring him gloves from 40p to 40 shillings a pair, he will tell you the price of them to twopence.
A pretty sweet quality, believe me.
Nay, lady, he will perfume you gloves himself most delicately. Give them the right Spanish titillation.
Titillation? What's that, my lord?
Why, lady, 'tis a pretty kind of term you come up in perfuming, which they call a titillation.
Very well expounded, my lord. Forth with your kinsman's parts, I pray.
He is the best sempster of any woman in England. Will work you needlework edgings and French pearls from an angel to 4 angels a yard.
That's precious ware indeed.
He will work you any flower to the life, as like as if it grew in the very place. And being a delicate perfumer, he will give it you his perfect and natural savour.
This is wonderful. Forth, sweet Lord Tales.
He makes you flies and worms of all sorts, most lively. He's now working a whole bed embroidered with nothing but glowworms, whose light is so perfectly done that you may go to bed in the chamber. You do anything in the chamber without a candle.
Never trust me if it be not incredible. Forth, my good lord.
Yeah, he's a most excellent turner. He will turn you wassail bowls and posset cups, carved with leopards' faces and lions' heads with spouts in their mouths, to let out the possy tail most artificially.
Forth, good Lord Tales.
Nay, good my lord, no more. You have spoken for him thoroughly, I warrant you.
I lay my life Cupid has shot my sister in love with him out of your lips, my lord.
Well, come in, my lords, and take a bad dinner with me now, and we will all go with you at night to a better supper with the Lord and Lady Furnifall.
We attend you, honourable ladies.
And interval break. So yes, it's interesting. So we have a wooing on the behalf of. So we've had 2 wooings on the behalf of the many and exciting Spanish titillations available. I'm fascinated by the glowworms, by which one can do anything in the chamber, by the light of. I mean, so many really nice little lines in this. We also have some sort of additional plot stuff with the young lads going to the ladies, going, the ladies going, how do you think you're going to get away with this? We go, well, if you don't dob us in it, miss, we can keep this going for ages. I deny all knowledge of your existence. Go forth. Alan.
One thing that I didn't get until we got to the end of that long first part of this act was that Clarence had been hanging around in the background during that, what we thought was effectively a 2-hander.
I don't know whether he was hanging, whether he, if there's no indication of when he's supposed to have, he's retired, so he's perhaps just behind a curtain or something. So he hasn't left, because he retires doesn't mean exit per se. Lois, then Lynn.
Yeah, Momford says you can go and you might be able to hear, but you certainly will be able to see, my conversation with Eugenia. So I don't know where he is, probably above.
Lynn.
Yeah, because Clarence said, well, how did it go? So evidently he couldn't make out enough of the conversation to put it together. So he was maybe watching, but he couldn't really hear, evidently.
Okay, so we've had the 2 wooings from Tales here as well as Momford. Do we think Eugenia's quite keen on Sir Giles?
That's Penelope.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, Penelope.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
No. I mean, this is the thing. There's so many options of people going on here. I mean, it's nice to have some reference to Sir Giles because hasn't done a lot so far in the play.
I know. I'm pretty annoyed about this, actually. Title character Pooey.
Yeah. Well, it's an odd one because it's one of these plays where it requires quite a lot of readers, but actually a lot of the performers aren't doing actually that much. I apologise, Sarah, who very much got the short straw today. But I think and Briony has also got relatively short straws here, whereas everybody else, I think, usually got at least one decent scene, which was. But yeah, so it looks like an ensemble piece, but it's slightly less ensemble than you'd actually think it is. But then again, there's still time. There's still another 3 acts to go. Who else wanted to? Briony.
I was just going to say, at least I did get some sick burns out of the lines. I feel like the women, at least they got some fun things to say.
Yeah, this has got some good one-liners. It has to be said, and it just does. Just an edit, just a little bit, a careful edit, or just say it really quickly. One of the two. Okay, we are approaching extra time, so it's time for final thoughts. Lots of us in the room. We lost Greg early, but we still have many people. So I will go to Sarah first. Sarah, how are we finding Sir Giles so far?
Well, partly I'm not really finding it at all. Just when I think I've found it and I know what's going on, I then lose the thread again. I think that's possibly because I'm looking for more plot than there actually is.
Yeah, there's almost no plot at all.
There's no plot at all. Yeah, that's pretty much the thing.
2 acts have occurred, and it's basically someone wants to woo some ladies.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah. But there are some very great bits in it. You know me, I like the bonkers plays, and I think this is definitely bonkers. And it's just got some marvellous bits. That whole last scene where Kingcob was wooing on behalf of Sir Giles Goosecap, I could watch a whole play of that. That was just hilarious. I loved it so much. With the gloves and the turning and the bedspread. Yeah, that was just fantastic. That scene aside, I am sort of like Briony was saying, like, I'm finding the women really good value, and I just wish there was a bit more of them and a bit less of the really wordy guys, because the wordy guys are funny to a point. But I'm like, yeah, to a point, but not the point of somebody's trusses. So yes, I will be interested to see how it develops. I'm looking forward to it, put it that way. I'm not so discombobulated by the whole thing that I'm not really looking forward to seeing what happens next, because I think it's got tons of potential and it's very entertaining.
Stephen, would you follow Sir Giles Goosecap to the urinal?
Only if it was done in French in a kind of classy way. Yeah, I was just thinking about Sarah's point, really. It's kind of like, isn't it funny when these idiotic people are kind of cut down to proper size by women? But, actually, it's all over-egged, how idiotic they are. The payoff is actually all of that sort of crumbling, And the thing I liked about the bit we just did with Penelope and Tails was that was really nicely economical, and so there's kind of like it's a bit profligate, it's a bit showy off with some of the kind of male writing, I think, and that sort of all dissipates into the air, really, because I was finding bits of it difficult to follow, and it wasn't so brilliant. And dramatically speaking, we've just had this sort of perfect little 2-minute sketch at the end that does the job that the play is seeking to do over like 20-minute period somewhere else, So those are my thoughts, really. Nothing original. There's some good gags in it, some really good gags in it. But whoever, if Chapman's writing it, I think he's kind of, it's insufficiently theatrically thought through so far for me.
Yeah, I like the idea that you can ruin your own play by writing a really good scene next to a similar scene that's slightly less engaging. It's like it can put an audience off. Eric, any final thoughts?
I think Stephen wanted to add something there, but I was just leaning over to pick something. No, I'm enjoying this play, but it's kind of, it is, as you said, wordy, but I think part of the point is that, the male characters build themselves up so much and then they're just swatted down like flies, just by the women, which is kind of fun. And of course, the names are fun as well, like Kingcob, Tails. It kind of tells you what the characters are like. And I think also the fact that, some of them are called like the female characters as well, Hippolyta, Penelope, like you kind of already know that there's going like the element of, being a woman wanting to be by herself was probably something very foreign back then. And just kind of like Hippolyta not wanting to get married or Eugenia not wanting to get married and so on and so forth. Like that's just kind of making it even more funny to a degree. And of course Winifred, but I mean Winifred is like not the same, is considered to be not like a different class as well.
Yeah, she's a serving.
So she's allowed to get away with some jokes as well. Whereas Hippolyta is like, how dare you make these jokes? Although they deserve it, you should have done it more cleverly. Hide the paper trail. Something like
that. Briony, any final thoughts?
Not really. I don't feel like I've grasped this, and I don't feel like missing the middle session's going to help. So good luck to Friday, Briony, is all I can say.
Yeah, we shall see. And especially, yes, as the way this scene just ended with, we're going to have a dinner at somebody else's house next. And it's like, oh, right, okay. That followed on logically in terms of plot detail. It's just, okay, we're going to introduce some new people and we're going to have dinner with them. Great. Alan, any final thoughts?
Yeah, despite the fact that I did the first pass on this some months ago, I got zero recollection of it. And it's possibly a sign that it didn't really engage me during that process. It still seems bitty, and almost that point at which we switched from the gentleman after dinner, indulging in fairly quick-fire banter, and then that following sequence, which seemed almost to be written in treacle. Very, very slow-moving, very ponderous. And I wasn't quite sure whether that was a deliberate mood change or just, I've got this speech here, I'll use it.
Aliki, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it just keeps throwing a lot of characters at us, and they're all very much the same. And now we're going to go to dinner, and I'm sure it's going to be full of comedy characters who think they're great and make dirty jokes and aren't that clever and talk a lot. And, well, maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I'm at.
We shall see next time. There's still 2 more sessions to go. Francis, any final thoughts?
Well, really, just to echo what everybody else is saying, I'm not feeling it. The plot's all over the place. And as Stephen says, the text is very dense in places. I agree with you, Rob. There are some great one-liners, but I just wish they were more evenly distributed amongst the characters. Winifred has the best lines, as we've all been saying in the chat. She's easily the best character. But I'm not dreading the next session. I'm not here tomorrow, but I'm here on Thursday. I'm not like Sarah. I'm not dreading the next session. I'm interested to see where this play goes. And I agree with Lois. I mean, why is it called Giles Goosecap when he's, up till now, he's a minor character?
Well, next time, Goosecap might get more to say.
Yeah, maybe he's going to come to the fore.
Yeah. And of course, it's one of these things. I think one of the elements is that the play is printed, I think, quite late in its life, considerably later than when it was first produced. I could be wrong on that point, but maybe we've known plays get an attachment to a character that has gone down particularly well, which may be more about the performer than it is about the size of the part. Blurt, Master Constable, I'm looking at you. Lois, any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's like other Chapman comedies that I've read. I mean, you get most of the action by some clever page who just tells people a lot of lies and sends them in the wrong direction, and plays jokes on them, and has no particular motive for doing it except that there has to be some sort of plot, and sometimes very good light dialogue that he can really do, that kind of assumes a world where everybody knows everybody and they can make little jokes. But there's not as much of that in this play as I've found in others. I mean, and some of it, and then there's this sort of philosophical quality, which everybody admired so much in Chapman, his great learning and so on. There's a bit of that, and it's awful. I don't know. I mean, no, so far it's not exactly filled me with enthusiasm, but I just can't wait to see what happens next time.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting that I'm not enjoying it. It's just I'm going, well, this could be better. I mean, we've had, I think we had more fun with the Gentleman Usher, which he's potentially writing quite about the same time as this, and there is a finite number of comedy Chapman, shall we say. Chapman will get much more serious. And there may be hints of that seriousness in this text. And actually, we haven't mentioned the amount of Latin where a knowledge of Latin is quite important, because the Latin is not glossed overtly in the text around it. So again, which is something we've seen with boys' company plays sometimes. That but yeah, it is annoying when the glosses aren't there, sort of implicit or explicitly put in. So that might be another element of a minor adjustment. Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yeah, I wanted to meditate a little bit on Sir Giles' description of his nephew. I had a response to that, and which is very mixed. So the gag is he's trying to impress Goosecap's inamorata by talking about what an incredibly skilled craftsman or artisan he is. He's a perfumer, and he's an embroiderer, and he's a sculptor, and he's like, it's his works come to life. They're so realistic. So the gag is, yeah, he's really good at what he does, but why would a lady want to marry a craftsman? So, and I am actually quite defensive about people who make their living with their hands, and because I feel that kind of thing doesn't get the kind of prestige attached to it that it should. So I find that a little offensive, because it's just like, yeah, so what if he is? He's obviously not. I mean, it's obviously lies. So what if he is a really skilled artisan? That doesn't make him worth marrying. So I kind of don't like that joke. But overall, I maybe like this a little bit more than the room in general. I think that with very skillful, enthusiastic actors working with a script that's been pretty heavily fillet cut, it could be really fun. I think it could be, if some of the gags are fun, the characters are over the top and fun with goofy costumes. I think it could be really enjoyable.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not a straight out of the box one, but there is life here. Lois, you had
yeah. Well, it was because of what Lynn was saying, actually. I'm not sure whether the point is exactly that Penelope wouldn't fall for an artificer. I think part of this is disturbing in another way, in that an awful lot of the things that Sir Giles is good at are sort of female skills. And there is that line about he is the best seamster of any woman in England. I mean, there are all sorts of hints that, this thing could be sort of homophobic, I think.
I'm misogynist by implication, because it's like there's low prestige attached to anything women are good at. So yeah, it's actually more, that whole thing is more problematic than is immediately obvious.
Eric?
I'm just wondering if this is sort of like one of those, Grim the Collier of Croydon kind of things, where we had like one big plot and then there was another big plot that was not really relevant to the original plot line, but one was a lot funnier and less misogynistic than the other. I don't know. Having said that, I wasn't there for that one, but I did watch the video. You should watch videos; they're very handy. But yeah, and also kind of just wondering if I did like how this, like, for almost all of Act 2, you're wondering how this has anything to do with the title of the play and the title character, Sir Giles Goosecap. But then you find out about 3/4 of the way through Act 2 that Kingcob is actually, Tails is related to the Goosecaps. So I like how it's like an emergency parachuting in of plot, basically, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think overall it is unified in the way that Blurt and other plays aren't, in the way that here, or Grimm as well, is here. We have effectively two wooing plots overlapping with some other stuff going on as well, and they're all part of the same unit of peopleage. I do think there are actually too many characters. I think someone's just putting in the chat. We've got Tails and we've got Kingcob, and I'm wondering, do we need both of them? Are they both? Is your journey really necessary? And I think there might be some eliding of characters that might be done here as well. Do we need all of these comedy characters? Can we tighten up this? Because it feels like maybe you've got a company of boy actors. There are X number of parts. Maybe you have to have this number of parts, because otherwise some of the boys are sitting around doing nothing. Sarah, didn't meant to go to you.
Yes, I just wanted to come back on the misogyny and the homophobia thing about that last scene. I do not dispute for a moment that that's what was going on in that scene originally, when Chapman wrote it, and no doubt that was the comedy for the original audience. But I think I absolutely love that scene, and I think it's because I just found it really endearing. I wasn't laughing. I wasn't laughing at it because it was, this is just so misogynistic. Yeah, women's crafts, ha ha ha. I found it really, really endearing. Like it endeared. Like, I mean, yes, okay. Sir Giles probably can't do any of these things, but the picture of it that was being created was just so brilliant. I absolutely loved it. And I think, sometimes my mind's gone blank now. The only example I can think of is from like the 19th century. But like sometimes you get stuff in older works which worked for the original audience in one way, but actually works a completely different way for a contemporary audience, because just because the humor's changed. We were talking about the fact that a lot of these jokes don't work. Sometimes they do work, not in the original way they were supposed to. And I just think that scene, I think, well, particularly if you played it to a queer audience, I just think, that scene would actually go down an absolute storm. I think it's a really fantastic little scene for very different ways that it was perhaps originally intended. And I think there might be maybe more of that in this play as well, like especially with the misogyny, where it's there's maybe meant to be like a lot of like the humor. The misogyny is meant to be the humor, but it's the reverse that would actually bring in a modern audience today.
I have to say, because I didn't notice any of that, it just felt to me like Tales was introducing an episode of Record Breakers, because it was just the way that Goose-cap, he does everything. He has performed, it's just so absurd, because, he dances upon eggs and doesn't break them. He can tell you the price of anything to within 2 pence. It'd be great on The Price is Right. And that's sort of the level I was reading it on. I mean, that's, again, not to say that the other elements aren't in there, but it doesn't seem to be the playing mode, is that just all of this is so ridiculous that this band does all of these things. I'll briefly go to Lynn, then Aliki, then Lois, and then I'll call it a day.
Yeah, I think you could spin it that way, that the gag is not that why would anyone be interested in an artisan? The gag is, my nephew can do anything. He's a magician, and really he's got like the fine motor skill of a 2-year-old. So it's just like, he creates all this beautiful stuff, and really he's clumsy and it has terrible taste in real life. So the gag is the enormity of the lie, not that the skills are not desirable or not prestigious.
Aliki.
So I was wondering whether Tales was a fashion addict. And so he was like, he's great. He has so many wonderful things. Oh, what does he have? Well, what do I care about? I care about nice perfume, pretty embroidery, and good dancing.
Yes, it's that thing of saying, you're trying to bluff your way through a situation, and all you can say are the things you can see in the room around you. Yes, he's amazing at tables and chairs and light fittings, and or something like that. Lois.
Yeah, well, I think he's just living up to his name, isn't he? Tales. I mean, tales are like, they're fairy tales. They're not true, but it's kind of. I don't know if that's all we're going to see of this character. Every time he opens his mouth, he comes out with long-winded, totally false statements.
Well, we will find out next time, because sadly we have run out of time. All that remains, thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everyone, and goodbye. Titillation? What's that, my lord?